Hey guys, we're over here at the Crater of Diamonds today, and we're going to go and try and find something shiny. So it's supposed to rain till about, I think, 2 o'clock or so today, and I think it rained about 3 inches yesterday. So it's going to be a big soupy mess out there, but we'll have some fun anyhow. So made the 4-hour drive this morning, just got here. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I got about 30 or so buckets, got my screen sets, got my lunch. I'm all set. Got my snacks. Of course, I got chocolate. Gotta have some chocolate. As if I'm not sweet enough already. All right, let's go in and pay our fee and get digging. All right, it's already starting to sprinkle on us, which is good. It's waking me up a little bit. It's $10 to get in here, which is a great deal because you can find any kind of all kinds of different rocks. Aside from diamonds, you can find conglomerates, you can find jaspers, you can find agates, and several others as well. Got up about 3 o'clock this morning to get down here. It's about a 4-hour drive. It's kind of rough because face like this, I could use all the beauty rest I can get. All right, so if you're taking a cart like me, they have a ramp which circles up and goes up there. This is the Diamond Discovery Center back here. If you find a diamond, or one you think is a diamond, you go to this table right here with these experts. They'll identify it for you, and then they'll take it into here and then let you look at it through the microscope. Then they'll put you on the board. You do that, you'll feel like you're part of the VIP club. All right, so it rained about 3 inches yesterday, and it looks like it's going to be raining off and on until about 2-ish or so today. So it's going to be a soupy mess out here, but that just means there will be more stuff in the drainage areas. So I probably won't dig a hole today, just because everything's going to be wet and nasty. You have to backfill your holes anyhow before you leave. This is the north side. There's not as many diamond finds over here on the north side. This area right here, that's the east drain. Somebody's already getting set up down there. I'm going to go down here by the south wash station, which is right up there. This is the north wash station straight in front of me. I'm going to get all of this gravel that's washed. I might even get a little bit of this too. This gravel area here, but all this stuff that's collecting right here and down underneath the pipe, and get all that, put that in my buckets and wash that real quick and see what we find. Well, unfortunately it's raining out there, so I haven't been able to take my phone out to do any kind of video for the moment. So far I've got 11 buckets set up, and I have 3 more out there. Water's nice and clean. So that's the north wash station right over there. A lot of this stuff from over here in the Canary Hill area washes over this way. Stuff from the north side washes down this way. All meets together. These things right here, they flow down here. So I grabbed a few, probably about 5 or 6 buckets from up here, and it comes down here and it leads right into this drainage area. So you can see where I scooped stuff out at. The way the water comes down, it comes down to the right side of this big rock right here, and so it flows up here, hits that, circles around, builds up, and then drains down into there. I figured all the heavy stuff is going in here and getting stuck there before the lighter stuff gets pushed over here, because as you can see, there's like hardly any gravel up there. Some of these bigger things that are on top, that's where I had a bucket set right there, and stuff fell over the top. So there was no real gravel right there. Most of the gravel and all the rocks were over on this side from how the water was flowing into it. So that's what I scooped up for the most part. And then it all drains through there and comes out right there. And right there's the south wash station. Well, it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning yet. It's only like 50 degrees, and I'm sweating like crazy. I think work's a 4-letter word, right? Aren't those supposed to be bad? Oh well. I like the rain. Cools me off. All right, so I got about 2/3 of a bucket. I poured it up here into my screen set. This is 12 inches by 24 inches. And like I said, one of the things I like about having nice clean water like this is that you don't have to wash your gravel again when you get home, because they do it every other day, and it can be like washing it in a mud puddle. So I got a bunch of dirt put in here. What I do at first, I like to rake my hands over, kind of feel it through, and you can push some of that smaller stuff through that 1/4 inch mesh. So I just kind of sweep it from side to side. I can feel the bigger rocks. The bigger rocks are nice to have, actually, because when you shake it side to side, the rocks will tumble against everything else, and it helps break things up, especially if you have clay balls in there. One of the good things about digging in the drainage areas, there's a lot of concentrated gravel already, and so a lot of the smaller stuff will just sift right through. It's not a lot of clay that you're working with, so you can get through a lot of material pretty quickly.
When I go to wash my gravel, I'll get my screen sets all set up, and then I'll put up a bucket, and I usually put about 2/3 of the bucket inside of my screen sets. I also highly recommend wearing a set of gloves whenever you're going to be washing your gravel. For me, I find it easiest to set the bucket on the side of the wash station. That way the bulk of the weight is being supported by the wash station, and I could just tip it over and kind of shake it until everything kind of falls out. And then when it gets light enough, I just pick it up, and then I just make sure it all gets dumped in my screen set. There's usually a little bit of dirt left at the bottom of the bucket, so what I do is I tip it down at an angle, and then I rotate it around so that the water cleanses all the dirt off the sides of the bucket. From there, I tip it back up and let the water wash it all down, and I just kind of pat the bucket until it all comes out and it's nice and clean on the inside. Any unwanted larger rocks are right there at the top of my screen set. I just pick those out and then just chuck them. After removing all the larger unwanted rocks from my top screen set, then comes the kneading the dough phase. I start to work the material and pressing it through the top 1/4 mesh so that the smaller pieces are caught in the mesh underneath. This process can take a while as you sift through it all. There can be a lot of clay in your dirt which can ball up and take a little while to work. So you just have to keep working it and working it and working it and pressing it through and then picking it up, shaking it side to side and front to back. The bouncing it up and down helps settle the heavier material to the bottom of the screen set. The shaking it side to side helps work the material towards the middle of the screen set. After you work your material a little bit, you can pick up your top screen set and see what kind of rocks are in there. Sometimes you just chuck the ones that you don't want. Then you start the process all over again if there's a lot of clay still left in your top screen set. When I'm ready to look through the top screen set, I pick it up and sit it on the edge of the wash station. I usually kind of tilt it a little bit so that the water will drain out. Then I work through it a little bit to see if there's anything in there worth keeping. The top screen will be where you find all of your larger diamonds, like 2 carats and above. After getting rid of the material in the top screen set, I can then work the finer gravel down in the bottom screen set. I'm using a stainless steel 20 mesh in my bottom screen set. Here we start the kneading the dough process all over again. We work the material by pressing it through the bottom mesh. Once I've broken up enough clay from the bottom screen, I start the process of bouncing it and shaking it. Again, the bouncing settles all the heavier material down to the bottom of the screen. The shaking it works all the material towards the middle of the screen. You repeat this process over and over. The goal in doing this is to try to get rid of as much silt as possible. We only want to have the gravel. And in the gravel is where we find our diamonds. Once the gravel is washed off enough, I pick it up and I set it out at an angle. Again, the wash station bears most of the weight. We want to drain as much water as possible, that way we only have gravel in our bucket and not a bunch of water. From here I get my gravel into a bucket that I use to make centers later. Then I start the process all over again with washing another bucket.
So this is the east drain at the moment. There's an agate. It's been impossible to walk through this field. All right, it's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Rain finally let up, starting to clear up a little bit.
For a first flip, this is a typical center for me while working material at the crater. I'll usually do a quick once over, and if nothing catches my eye right off the bat, I just scoop up my centers and put it in my bucket. I was using a Muddy Miner 20 mesh Saruka to make these flips. That water was so clean a few hours ago, it didn't take me long to get it all filthy. Let's take a quick look at a few more typical centers from the crater.
When all of these are wet, everything looks shiny, but if you put it in the shade, diamonds will have a luster even in the shade. It's one good way to help look for them also. See that green down in there? That green's chrome diopside. There's some spinel, lots of quartz, some barite, some jaspers, there's some barite right there, or it could be calcite, I'm sorry. But yeah, see that green right there? That green is the chrome diopside. Well guys, I think I'm going to call it quits today. I did a pretty good amount of washing gravel, even though the conditions aren't really ideal as far as how muddy and sloppy and soupy all the dirt is, trying to walk through it or pull your cart through. Let's go home, take a look at everything. We'll recenter everything and see if we found anything shiny. Each one of those tanks holds 1,200 gallons of water. See how the water goes and goes to the right of that rock right there, goes up underneath that drain pipe, circles back around, overflows, and then goes up through there. So all the heavy stuff is being pushed and it's hanging out there, and all the overflow lighter stuff is being pushed over this way, and then all the water and silt goes through. I have no idea why they call this thing a boot wash.
Before we go looking at my centers, I want to share with you a few of the other rocks that I was able to find while at the crater. This was one of my more unique agates that I was able to find. I love all the little vugs, or cavities, inside of it. This is a teeny tiny agate, but it's quite special. Check out those blue specks on it. Now I'm going to zoom up for a little bit closer view as to what it looks like. Those blue specks actually cover the entire rock. I've never seen that before on any of my finds from the crater. If you know what it is, please let me know in the comments below. Here's another spot on that agate where the blue specks are all concentrated together. They're really small and very hard to see with your naked eye. Speaking of agates, check out the texture on the top of this one right here. One of the things that I like about this is that it has a little bit of druzy on there as well. Here's an agate/conglomerate mix. It has a little bit of druzy quartz in it as well. At first I thought this was a regular piece of lamperite, but check out that green piece right there at the top of it. Conglomerates are like nature's concrete. They're one of my favorite rocks to find while at the crater. There are no two alike, which means each is unique in its own special way. There's been a number of people who have broken down conglomerates in search of a diamond, but there's been no documented finds of a diamond yet. This is my largest conglomerate find for the day. I found several smaller ones as well, probably like 25 to 30. Now, let's start making some centers and see if we can find a diamond.
Alright, so I'm here at home. It's about 38 degrees outside, and I've got one of these 20-gallon or so storage tubs, and I built like a little makeshift platform on top of sawhorses, and I've got some padding down to have a couple of flip my centers. And you're thinking, it's 38 degrees outside, so why in the world are you working on a Saruka now? By the way, Muddy Miner Saruka 20 mesh. Thank you so much for Solomon. Great product, love it. It's because I took a bucket from inside and poured a bunch of warm water here. So when I put my hands in there, it feels like bath water. So I don't mind working out here in the colder weather, even though I'm barefoot. I just started making a couple flips, and I want to see what you guys think.
Alright, so let's zoom in and look at a few of these centers up close. Now this center is still fairly wet, and that means everything's going to look shiny. And if everything is shiny, it's going to be more difficult to distinguish as to what is a diamond and what is not. Getting an up-close look at all the centers is good practice as to identifying what material is what. Here in a minute, I'm going to take the things out of this center and put it under a microscope, and we'll get an even closer look as to what these things look like.
Not sure what that little ball is right there, but it's shiny. Oh, haha.
I find with smaller material, it's easy to use a paint scraper to get underneath it all. After I scoop it up, I place it in a bucket to go through later grain by grain. Now everybody has their own way of looking through the material grain by grain. Some people use like a baking pan or a cookie sheet, something like that. I like to just take a cup and then pour it out onto a plate. Instead of it being mounded in the center, I press it over to one side of the plate so that it has a slope towards the center. From there I use the back side of a clear spoon and I start slowly pushing it away from one side of the plate to the other. Once I look through that material, I push it over to the other side of the plate to make room for new material to be looked through. This can be a really slow and painstaking task, but it's a lot of fun along the way. Any pieces that I find interesting, I set it aside in a cup to be looked at in the microscope later. Speaking of microscopes, let's look at a few of these things that I found interesting and see if we can identify what is what under the microscope. Now at the time of filming this, I've only gone through about 1/3 of my material so far. And out of that material that I've already gone through, I have yet to find a diamond. This video is from a previous find and I wanted to include it so that you can identify what a diamond actually looks like from the Crater of Diamonds. The Crater of Diamonds produces 3 different colors of diamonds: brown, yellow, and white. This is a 28-point brown, and there are 100 points in a carat. That makes this a little over a quarter of a carat. Let's start off by looking at a few of our reds. First, we're going to look at garnets. Garnets from the crater can vary in shape and size. My favorites are the deep magenta, kind of purplish colored ones. For scale, I'm using a toothpick to push these things around. Here's an even closer look at them. Now let's take a look at a few of the greens. For scale, that's a toothpick I'm using to push these things around with. Aside from the garnets, these green chrome diopsides are excellent indicators for diamond material. Another heavy material that's an indicator for diamonds is black spinel. Spinel is usually shiny on one side and dull on the other. So when you find a lot of black spinel in your centers, that's an excellent indicator that you're in the right material for finding diamonds. Every now and then you may find a magnetite octahedron in your center. They're more known to be found from the north side of the crater. One of the materials that can trick you at the crater is mica. Mica has a metallic reflection and really catches your eye. One of the things that I like about this little rock is that it has a whole bunch of pieces of mica in it. It even has it in varying colors, sometimes side by side as well. Now let's take an even closer look at some pieces of mica. Mica from the crater can look gold, silver, reddish, copperish, greenish, even bluish. When I have all the mica in a pile like this, I kind of feel like I'm looking inside of a pirate treasure chest full of gold. Another teaser that you can find in your centers is quartz. Quartz can have terminations and faces and even has some iron stainings on it to fool you to make you think that you might have a diamond. See how those natural faces on the quartz can get your attention? Well guys, I'm going to come to a close on this video. I really hope it was a help to you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.
All right, it's middle of December. We're over here at the crater, and we're going to try to find some. Bleh. You're going to see me probably do this a couple of times. Uh-huh.